This podcast is part of the Everyday Heroes Podcast Network, the network for first responders and those who support them.
Welcome back to Scissors and Scrubs, Halloween edition.
Your favorite.
I'm Nicole,
I'm Laura.
and Halloween is my favorite. If you've listened in the past, you'll know Halloween is my favorite time of the year. I did my annual Connor's Farm haunted farm corn maze. You know what irritates me? It's the fucking people that always end up in front of me. They irritate me. Why? Because as it is, the corn maze is so packed, they're not really putting a lot of distance between you and the people in front of you.
The groups, yeah.
And then the assholes in front of me are videotaping.
What?
So and then they don't want to miss out on a good time. So they're waiting till each one of them goes first. I had a backup of about 80 people behind me by the time the fuckface in front of me finally made it through the... Oh, I'm going to tell them I was angry? I was so angry. Yeah, they're filming. They're filming their way through. I was like...
No!
So...
Then there's light and everything else.
Right, it's bad enough, like, you pay all that money. I would like to, I'm there to get scared.
Yeah.
And no. If I could find the man in that jacket, I would strangle him with it. Okay, so I did my haunted fair. It's a rainy, cucky night tonight.
Yes,
I'd love to be home. And
spooky season.
Yes, tis the season. I found a couple of coyotes last night that added to the Halloween feel in my yard. 4 of them in my yard. So anyway, today,
Yes.
we're going to cover yet another episode surrounded by death.
Yes.
We're talking about body donations. I am going to kick off with how it started. It's a little bit of reiteration from the Burke and Hare episode that we did maybe 2 years ago. I think we did it.
At least.
I think we did it 2 years ago. It's one of my favorite episodes, Burke and Hare. And we talk about resurrectionists, where people, they would snatch bodies from the graves to bring for medical schools and stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Laura's going to talk about what actually happens when you donate your body. And then I got a little Halloween surprise at the end.
Can't wait.
Cover a little serial killer. One of my faves. Not really a serial killer. He was just fucked up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He really, because he only killed like 2 people.
Really?
Yeah. But what he did with what he had, he was very creative. Okay. So, the use of bodies in education starts in the 3rd century with the Greek school of medicine. Herophilus of Chalcedon. I want to be known from where I'm from, like Nicole from Revere.
Laura of Malden.
Laura of Malden, formerly of Malden, now of Stoneham.
Yes.
So Herophilus of Chalcedon and Erastostates of Chios were the first doctors to overlook religious, moral, and ethical taboos and start performing human dissections for anatomical purposes. So they were the first ones to say, we don't give a fuck, we're going to do this. After the death of these 2 anatomical dissection doctors, all these dissections cease. Other medical schools felt dissection served no purpose, and that observation was enough. We're just going to look at the body, see what it does.
On the outside.
On the outside. We don't need to know
You don't
anything.
need all the intricate systems.
Because nothing goes wrong on the inside. It's just the outside. It would be another 1,700 years before this changes.
Wow.
The 11th century. Animal. Again, I did it to myself. It's my own handwriting. 11th century, animal dissection pops up. 1315 sees the first human dissection since the Greek guys at the University of Bologna, also known as the University of Bologna. These dissections, they start drawing huge crowds, and the universities start building these huge anatomical theaters so that you would have the person on the bottom of the floor, and it literally is like a theater where the seats go up so everybody can see what's going on,
Like
and they start
seating.
Yes, exactly. So you have some of the first anatomical theaters in Bologna of 1595, also known as Bologna, and Paris, Paris, 1604. We're going to go visit that in the wintertime. I can't wait. So the U.S. starts down similar path, and in 1832, the U.S. passes the Anatomy Act, and it mandates that unclaimed bodies would play a central role in dissection. Ignored by many because body snatching and grave robbing is much more profitable and gives you many more bodies. So if you got one body, it's $250 in today's money at that time.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of goddamn money for 1832. And if you're a good grave robber, which I would have been fantastic, I'm sure, you could snatch a body in about 15 minutes.
I can't.
That's pretty.
I can't. That's really fast to be able to dig
Did
that
you
hole.
watch the John Wayne Gacy tapes?
No.
So everybody knows John Wayne Gacy buries all these bodies under his house. And, you know, they go under, they find the first body, and they're like, okay, we're going to have to dig. So these cops are there in just jeans and t-shirts, well, long sleeve, and regular gloves, pulling these bodies out. Yeah. Decayed. Right. So one guy's like, this one victim he's in there. It's like, and we're pulling. Can't do it. He goes, so I had to stick my fingers through the skin and latch on to his ribcage in just his regular gloves and clothes and yank the body out. No. He's like, it was so gratifying to finally let this poor guy out. But I'm like,
there's not enough alcohol in this world to douse my body.
I would love to know the mental state of these guys after.
Things, I know.
Because, you know, they show you is, I mean, they show you some of the things, but you can't tell really what you're looking at. But they numb at every gravesite, and you just see flags of numbers. And I was like, that must have been awful, fucking horrific. Anyway, so yeah, so they were good body snatchers. So that leads to the Anatomy Riot of 1788. I know that the dates are a little off here, but the Anatomy Riot of 1788 happens in April of 1788. So you get a med student. He's in the New York hospital, and he's dissecting a body in a lab. The window's open. So a bunch of kids are looking in the window, watching him dissect this body.
Kids are sick.
Because kids are sick. I would have been right there. Yeah, fucking looking in the window. What are you doing? So as a joke, the guy, the med student, picks the hand up, and he's like, this is your mother's arm. I just dug her up. The kids go running home. One of the kids' mother happened to have just died. Oh my God. So he tells his dad, he was working on mom. Father's like, bullshit. They go to the grave. They dig mom up. There's no mom in the grave. So the father's now pissed. And they're pissed because the cadavers are usually coming from the poor, the mentally ill, or convicts. So the poor masses feel like they're being exploited. And the father's like, bullshit. He gets a crowd together, and they storm New York Hospital. The doctors and the anatomists take off. They see the crowd coming. They take off. One of them's hiding in the chimney of the lab. They break into the building. They're smashing equipment. They're bringing equipment out into the streets. They're setting stuff on fire. If they find any bodies, they're reburying them. I don't even know if they know who these people are, but they're reburying them. And overnight, the few hundred people that storm become a few thousand. So they march on what at the time was Columbia College, today is Columbia University. Alexander Hamilton is actually on the steps begging them not to destroy the building. They're like, fuck you. They go in, they destroy the building. New York Mayor James Duane jails all the doctors because it's the only building in the town that's strong enough to get the crowds out. So 5,000 people are outside the jail building in windows calling, quote, bring out your doctors. Y-E-R, year. The mayor calls in the militia. They're all calling for peace. They're trying to calm the crowd down. They have none of it. They're throwing bricks. They're throwing rocks. They're smashing windows. Revolutionary War hero Baron von Steuben is on the steps trying to calm the mob down, but he gets beamed in the head with a brick. So as he's beamed and he's going back, he tells the mayor, like, you got to fire on this crowd. All the militia hears is, you got to fire, and they open up on the fucking crowd. They fire in, and they open up, and they kill about 20 people. 20 more bodies for the lab. Yeah. So 17 anatomy riots take place before the Civil War. Connecticut, Boston, Cleveland, and Philly all see riots. Then they pass quote-unquote bone bills, which again allows medical schools access to unclaimed bodies. So by 1832, philosopher Jeremy Bentham, founder of utilitarianism, is the first person in history to donate his body to science. Thinking everybody else is going to be like, yeah, it's a great idea. Nobody does. Yeah. By 1968, the Uniform Anatomical Act is passed to protect whole body donors and their families. There's informed consent now on body donation. By 2012, the International Federation of Associations of Anatomists, IFAA, published recommendations for donation of willed bodies and for an end to other ethically controversial policies, saying basically if there's unclaimed bodies, they don't necessarily get donated to science. With all of this in place, people donating, and we have a friend whose parents are going to donate their bodies, which I think is interesting. There is still a huge need for cadavers for medical research. It is still a problem. New York City medical schools are 80 bodies short of the 300 they needed. Countries where the religious beliefs are really strict or their cultural beliefs are really tight, there's no cadavers at all. So that's just creating a red market, which means people are going right back to the resurrection days. They're digging bodies up and selling them to medical schools. So on that note, think about donation. And Sparkles is going to tell you what happens when you donate.
I am. All right. So first of all, there's the American Association of the Tissue Banks. This association provides accreditation for institutions that can accept whole body donations. So if you are interested in donating your body, find one that is accredited by American Association of Tissue Banks.
I'm going to Google it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my first thing.
They put out, if you go to that website, it lists every single place that you can donate that's accredited. They make sure there's like policies and procedures of taking care of the human body donation. It's done respectfully. It's done within, there's certain procedures you have to do. There's certain things you have, like everything is kosher. The Association of Tissue Banks vets the donations. So if I wanted to donate my body, but I have Hep C, I can't.
Okay.
It's for the safety because they're learning. It's not like
you don't want anybody getting cut.
Right.
Getting
So
affected.
any communicable diseases, if you're severely overweight or you're severely underweight, they might not take the body.
Really?
Yeah. But age doesn't matter. So you could be 99, you can be 9, you can donate your body to science because you still learn from a 99-year-old.
Don't eat my aunt's body.
Donations are used like for a bunch of different research. I'll get into exactly what they research, but they're used by medical students for anatomy lessons. Apparently, according to last week, they used at nursing schools. Who knew?
I know. I think it was our last. I was wondering, like, I remember hearing that. I'm like, that must have been last week's episode.
Yeah, the email.
Yeah.
She used the bodies.
Yeah, I didn't. I got a pig.
They can be used for research, like for robotic surgery, heart valve transplants, laser treatment for acne. They teach anesthesiologists how to give blocks, like pain blocks.
That's interesting.
Because you can see exactly what you're doing, you know.
That's really, yeah. I mean, if you skinned it away, you'd be able to see all the muscles and everything they need to go through.
Yep. The Department of Defense also uses bodies for impact testing of new technology to see what actually happens to it. You can use a dummy, but if you use a human body, you're going to see what actually happens to the human
disturbing.
body.
I'm not.
It is.
I know they need to know, but that is a little disturbing.
I saw this thing, which I'm not. I must have been on TikTok today or something. I don't know how true it is because it was on TikTok. But this man donated his mother's body to science and then found out it was used for like an impact testing at the Department of Defense.
I guess if he hated it,
and I
it
think
wouldn't be so bad,
he donated it for like Alzheimer's research or something,
Ooh.
which you can't specifically do that.
It's going where
when
it's
you
going.
donate your body for science, you can't say it has to be used for Alzheimer's research. You could do it and hope that it is, but it's not always going to be. But anyways, I don't know if that's true or not, but I just saw that.
Wow. For all they know, they could have taken the brain for that and then still used the body.
Right. A lot of people donate their bodies to science. Well, a lot of the drive for donations is funerals are wicked expensive. Like the average cost of a funeral is $8,755, and the average cost of a cremation is $6,260. So if you have no money, that's a lot of money to spend to bury somebody. So if you donate the body, they do whatever research they're doing on it.
Free.
They cremate them and send you their ashes. So they are being cremated, but you're not paying anything. But just some people are just really good people. They love science. They want people to learn, and they're going to donate their body. You can pledge your body to any of these institutions anytime. Like I could go tomorrow to one of these accredited places and say, I want to donate my body, and they will, start screening you then and make sure you're okay. And then I think they keep touch with you. And then when you die,
I don't know if you know the answer to this because I know organ donation used to be this way. But if you decided you wanted to donate, but your spouse or your kids are like, no, we don't want that, can they change it?
I don't know. I think they tell you to put it like in your will, to put it in your...
So it can't get changed.
Right. Like,
okay.
So this is what I want. I think more because it's not, like with organ donation, they withdraw care or whatever.
No, all right.
Do you know what I'm saying? You're dead. So,
you're not just dead. You're
there's
dead.
There's not a question. You're very dead. And you can also, if you do want to do organ donation, you can do your organ donation. And then after they take your organs, whatever institution you pledged your body to will then come take your body. Mm-hmm. So you can donate your organs and then your whole body after the organ donation. They won't tell you exactly what they did with the body, but you'll get a letter saying like your mother helped with research,
In defense.
right? Training, education, whatever. But they don't say like we did this to your mother's,
We
which
blew
I
her
think
up
is
with a RPG.
I think that's you don't need to know all the
No,
details.
no, you don't.
No. So research bodies are used for anatomy and physiology labs and education, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia research, craniomaxillofacial surgical technology,
Yeah.
dental
one.
surgery training and device development, drug therapies, EMT training, resident training, minimally invasive surgical technology, musculoskeletal advancements, neurosurgery, orthopedic device technology, otolaryngology, pain management, that would be like your blocks and stuff, robotic cardiac and thoracic surgical training, sports medicine development, and transplant surgery advancement. So it is very important that they need these bodies.
I mean, even though it was sketchy the way they were getting them back in the day, that's how medicine got to where it was.
Right.
You needed cadavers to work on. You can't work on live people.
Right. And you want them to work on dead people before they start
Right.
working on live people. But I remember when we would do gastric bypasses, we used to do them open.
Mm-hmm.
The whole gastric bypass was open.
Big.
Huge incision. It was a huge surgery, huge recovery. And now we do them laparoscopic and robotically. And I remember doing them open and the surgeon saying they were in the labs with the pigs, learning how to do it laparoscopically.
Yeah.
Then I think they would do the pigs.
And then cadavers.
And then they go on to
That's the only
living
way.
humans.
You don't want them practicing on a real live human.
No.
It just is not a good,
No.
it's not a good scenario.
So, I mean, they need
practice.
It feels weird to say that, like, oh, I'm giving my body to science, but it is, I mean, it's for the advancement.
It's how we
yeah.
figure out how to make better prosthetics, make better, rods and things like that for the bones. It's the way we figure out, well, how do we fix Parkinson's?
Right.
I mean, I remember watching a surgery, we're talking, it had to be 1995, and they were putting stimulators in the brain for somebody who had tremors from Parkinson's. Now, it's like an everyday procedure.
It's constant. We do it all the time.
And I was like, I watched them do the first one of those, and now it's everybody's doing it, So, yeah, it's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you need them. It feels like a weird thing. It's a weird thing to talk about.
It's a good thing to do.
It is a very nice thing to do.
It's a noble, benevolent thing to do. I don't know if I could do it, but it is a very noble act.
Yes. So then you can also donate your body for forensic reasons.
All right, if I was going to donate, it would be forensics.
I know
you know that.
I know. So Dr. William Bass opened the first body farm. I have two different dates. One said 1971 and one said 1980. I have no idea.
Back then.
In the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
It was called the University of Texas Anthropology Facility. He understood there was a huge need for research into human decomposition. He was a forensic anthropologist, which they study human tissue and how it decays for crimes. For whatever. Yeah, crimes, I guess. So police were continually calling him to look at things at crime scenes because they didn't know. They were like, what's going on here? Why does he look like this? Does this mean this? And he's like, people, they need to know this stuff. This is very important for their job. So he opens up this anthropology facility. It became known as a body farm after somebody wrote like a book, like a fictional book about this and called it the body farm. So now that is where the nickname the body farm comes from.
I mean, you're not really farming bodies.
No, you're not farming bodies.
You're not growing them in the fields.
No. So it started out like as a really small area with one body. Like there was one body in this little small area.
One bastard who didn't get claimed.
Yeah. It turned into a 3-acre complex with about 40 bodies on it at a time.
Imagine getting lost and ending up on that complex and be like,
not even, no.
So it's like an honest to God corn maze, haunted corn maze.
I died one time.
That'd be fucking something.
Yeah. When he first started this, he got bodies from medical examiners' offices that were unclaimed.
Yeah.
Now people can donate their bodies to these facilities. Right.
I can see people being like kind of a little torqued in the head and being like, I'm giving it to forensic science. I would do that.
Yeah. Or I could see it even if, like, God forbid you knew somebody like who was murdered and found, and you like, you know what? If my body's going to help you find somebody else or help you find someone's killer or help you, discover remains and can say this is definitely your remain, like, I'll do it, But he used to get them from the medical examiner. Now people donate them, like I said. They won't take bodies with communicable diseases. They are laying in the ground, decomposing. They don't contaminate anything. There are now 5 body farms in the U.S. There's the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, the original one, Western Carolina University, Texas State University, Sam Houston State University, and California University of Pennsylvania. Which I don't.
I guess that's in Pennsylvania?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
The largest is the Texas University. It's about 7 acres. I guess when they were
Texas has the room to spare.
Right. Everything's bigger.
Yeah.
When they were developing that one, I believe, like people that lived around there were like, absolutely not. You're not just gonna have dead bodies laying outside.
The coyotes are bringing an arm in.
Yeah, and they would like suggest this spot, and people were like, no, they're gonna, that's too close. I'm gonna smell it. Or they bring it here, and they're like, no, we're gonna see heads like on the way to school or whatever. So it's in like, I think the whole thing might be like 7 acres, and it's the farm. The facility itself is like in the middle of that, like a mile away from everything on every edge.
So if anything accidental, they can't accidentally get it, right?
No, so they do like some of them just have like big, huge protective fences. Like, I think it depends on where they are too.
Mm-hmm.
But like that one, I think they put like cages around the body, so coyotes can't drag them anywhere. Birds of prey can't drag them anywhere.
Could you imagine looking up and you see like an eagle? He's got like a thigh in his mouth.
No.
Like I can't even fucking imagine.
So when the facilities receive a body, they tag them. They're documented. This is Laura Dennison. She's, whatever. They're refrigerated until they're used. They're handled. There's policies and procedures for this. They're not thrown around. It's a very scientific experiment.
I don't throw them around. I just picture them like hoisting one over their shoulder and be like, here we go.
Yeah. They're like plotted. Like this one is going on this grid.
Grid 3.
Yes. Yeah. Like they know exactly where that body is. It's
what the conditions are around it.
Very the whole thing is a science experiment. Right. It's very scientific. And even just the tagging and the putting that person there and whatever, all of that helps helps the chain of custody. Like every single thing there is a learning experience. That helps with the chain of custody. So the body farms allow scientists, FBI, law enforcement to learn how a body decays and how to find a body that's decaying, how to find, like, the body when it decays affects the environment around it. Entire, like, species of, like, bugs live and die if there's a body there. Like, it's bizarre. Like, all of a sudden they'll be like, oh yeah, this insect is now here populating this. There must be a dead body.
Like, not to get back to the John Wayne Gacy tapes, but it was really fucking good. The guy was looking for the bodies, and he's like, I'm looking, and these red worms are present. He goes, I've never seen worms like this in my life.
No.
He goes, and as soon as I put my flashlight on them, shoom, they went back in the ground. He's like, they had to be something there, because I've never seen anything like this before. He's like, there had to be a body there. I was like, oh.
Yeah, they said there's literally, like these different insects that will only appear if there's a dead body there, like, or whatever, and then they die when that body's so far out.
How disgusting.
The
insects are gross.
I know. The decaying body also affects, like, the vegetation around it. Like, the gastric juices kill off flora, and, like, so they can tell if a body had been there because of how the vegetation's gonna look. Like, even if you go somewhere and you're like, oh, I don't see a body, but they can be like, yeah, but see this? This is because there was a body here.
I can handle a lot, but this is getting gross.
It allows scientists to examine bones. So if they can learn what this woman's bone looks like, now they know, like, okay, this body's probably a woman because of X, Y, and Z. Or this body's probably a black man because of X, Y, and Z. This body's probably an Asian woman. This body's a child under the age of 8. This body's, like, they can get so specific because they've studied what the bones and the insides of these bodies look like. They study skin changes, the peeling of the skin, bloating, when that occurs, when that goes away, like, all of these things, appearance of maggots on the body, like, how long does that mean it's been there for? They learn, like, there's so much they learn from these bodies.
I'm assuming they're submerging them as well.
Well, so each facility studies different things, kind of. So Tennessee, they do decomposition under all circumstances, buried, unburied, underwater, in the trunk of a car. Like, they do them under, like, every circumstance. Western Carolina, it places emphasis on the decomposition in the mountains. Texas provides regional specific data, like decomposition in the desert. Like, so they learn different things from the different areas. I think Tennessee is more
elaborate.
They put the bodies in very different situations. Right. I already said, like, some have the fences around them, some have cages around the bodies. All of them are highly secured. You cannot just stumble upon these farms.
It'd be awful.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's scientific, so they can't. Because
Right.
if I could just get in there, I'm going to
thing.
disrupt everything. You're not going to learn anything. These facilities have helped with many investigations, like, a million. Mass graves in Iraq, Kosovo, Rwanda. They could determine the times of the death of these people in these mass graves, which mass graves are
huge.
And they could be from like last year, this year, next year, you know.
It's 100 years ago.
Right. So they can determine the times of the death, the race of the people, which also helps them determine who killed them
Mm-hmm.
because based on their race, and how they were killed, if they were shot, if they were, hit over the head, if whatever, they can determine all that stuff. So they know who's in these graves and who's doing this. John Wayne Gacy killed 33 men. 29 were buried under his house. Forensic anthropologists identified badly decomposed, stacked, they were stacked on top of each other.
Like 3 deep. Yeah.
So it's not like, it's easy to be like, okay, that guy's this one and that guy's this one. But they could establish the height and weight of those bodies. So that helped identify them based on their families.
Still, like, 6 of them are unclaimed.
Well, if they had their information, like if, you were like, oh, my son is missing, like, blah, 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 and you had his, they could be like, yes, this was him, so.
Right.
And then it even helped on a cold case from 1933. 7-year-old Dalbert Pashian was found floating in the San Diego Bay in 1933.
Wow.
An autopsy at that time said he was sodomized and mutilated.
Oh.
No one was ever arrested. They reopened this case in 2005. And now with all this knowledge from these body farms and stuff, the medical examiner found he had just simply drowned. If the original examiner didn't know what happened to a body that was decomposing in water. So they thought
went for murder for
all
nothing.
of this, right, like all, probably the way it affected that area looked terrible, but that's just how that area is affected when it's decomposing in water. So they were like, no, that nothing ever happened. This kid just drowned. So it was just, it's just amazing what they've learned from these body farms. So if you are interested in that,
watch Forensic Files. You'll see what they learned from these body farms.
You can donate your body to any of those 5 schools.
Oh,
and you can pledge it now, and
I'm gonna have to rethink now, Laura.
They'll come get your body after your funeral, because you can be, you can have a funeral and stuff. I think they tell them, don't do this, don't do that, but
interesting.
Yeah, so you can donate your body to any of those 5 schools.
Well, we recorded this actually like a week ago, and it didn't actually make it to tape. So I had covered a different person. I was going to cover H.H. Holmes at that time, but H.H. Holmes got very convoluted, and I don't know, he bored me. So I moved to a different serial killer who actually I think has more to do with body farms than H.H. Holmes did. And unless you have been living in isolation for the past 30 years, you would have heard of Ed Gein. But for people who have not heard of Ed Gein, we're going to briefly discuss Ed Gein. But as you've heard me say in other podcasts, if you want a deep dive of Ed Gein, listen to last podcast on the left. They do a deep dive of the craziness of Ed Gein, which I kind of feel bad for Ed Gein. He's kind of fucked up, and you'll see why. Okay. He is born in 1906 in La Crosse County, Wisconsin. That's his first problem. He's born. Yeah. In the middle of nowhere. Yeah. All right. His dad is George Gein. His mother is Augusta. He has a brother, Harry. Those are the kids. Parents hate each other. Oh. Like, with a passion. But because of their strict religious beliefs, they're never getting a divorce. Father is a raging alcoholic. And the mother is a religious fanatic. Yeah. She runs a small grocery store, and she buys a house out in the very isolated country out in Plainville, Wisconsin. She picks this location specifically because it's so isolated. Ugh. So it's a big farm out in the middle of nowhere. Excuse me. And she does this because she doesn't want anybody influencing her boys. She wants to be the only influence on her boys.
Never good.
Never. Good. There's a recipe for disaster. So they are only allowed to leave. The boys are only allowed to leave the house to go to school. And Ed's kind of a weird kid. He's tiny. He's effeminate. He's ideal for bullying. And he would laugh to himself. He was very weird.
Mhm.
Nice kid, but weird. So when they're not in school, they're doing chores. When they're not doing chores, the mom is preaching to them about, quote, the immorality of the world, evils of drinking, and the belief that all women, except her, are prostitutes and instruments of the devil.
All women.
All women, excluding Augusta,
Well, of course,
Geen,
obviously.
are instruments of the devil. Awful people. Should have daily readings of the Bible, selecting graphic verses from the Old Testament dealing with death, murder, and divine retribution.
Yikes.
She was a wonderful woman.
That sounds like a lot of fun at that house.
So all of this makes Ed a huge bully target. I told you he's weird, he's small, he's effeminate, off-putting mannerisms, laughs weirdly.
Mhm.
And to boot, any friends he did make, his mother would scold him for making. Like, how dare you make friends? You can't have anybody else. I'm the only person in your life, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
When you get in, when you listen to last podcast, they really get into her.
Mhm.
There's some weird shit going on in that house.
Yeah.
And it's not covered. I got this information from Murderpedia. There's weird shit going on in that house. Mother is really pleased by anything that the boys do. So they're constantly striving for her approval. They don't get it. And she beats the shit out of them, basically on a regular basis. In 1940, his dad dies, and the boys work odd jobs around town to help bring money into the house. Ed's a handyman, and he also babysits for neighbors. He really liked the kids because he got along with kids better. At one point, the older brother Henry starts to realize his mother's a complete fucking nut job. And he is voicing this daily to Ed and to the mother. You're nuts. This is ridiculous. I don't like you. Blah, 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 blah. May 16th, 1944, there's a brush fire around the house. The boys are sent out to extinguish this brush fire. They get the fire out, but Henry's missing. Henry is missing. So Ed reports Henry missing to the police. They create a search party. Ed is leading the search party. Ed leads them directly to Henry's body. Like, no boop, there's Henry. Weird. Henry he's got bruises on his head, bruises on his face, and everything around him is untouched by fire. But they deem it asphyxiation from the fire. Everybody's pretty sure Ed killed his brother because he was pissed about what he was saying about the mother, but he never gets charged for this. Many believe he killed his brother, but no charges are ever filed, and it is ruled death as asphyxia. Geen and quote-unquote mother are allowed to live alone till her death of December 29th, 1945, where after a series of strokes, she bites the dust.
Okay.
Geen states he lost his only friend and one true love. And he is absolutely alone in the world. Well, because you killed your fucking brother.
And she
Made
isolated them.
Yeah, she made it that way. So he stays on the farm. He boards up every room she used, which is the entire upstairs. They were when they go into this house a few years later, these rooms were untouched. They were exactly as she had left them.
I don't like this.
He moves downstairs. He sleeps in a room next to the kitchen. That's it. That's the only two rooms he's using. There are pictures of the rooms.
Not want to see them.
So, November 16th, 1957, Bernice Warden, a hardware store owner, she goes missing. Her son reports that Ed Geen was in the store that evening, and he said, I'll come back for the morning for antifreeze. So there's a sales receipt for the antifreeze. Rewind. A sales receipt for the antifreeze written by his mother with Ed Geen's name on it the day she goes missing. So the police are like, well, let's go check old Geen property out there in Plainville, Wisconsin. These poor policemen. They drive out to the Geen farm. They go out to the barn. And there's old Bernice hanging by her feet. Her arms tied to the ground. Decapitated. Gutted like a deer and dressed out like a deer. Like fucking splayed out. They must have shit when they saw her.
Why?
Who knows why. But that's what he does to poor Bernice. He had shot her and then he completely mutilates the body. Right? So the police go into the house and start looking around. Now let's start with the house was filthy. The rooms that he lived in, hoarding, filthy, just filthy. Hear that? That's the list of what we find in the house. Are you ready?
Oh.
Buckle up. 4 noses.
What?
Alvar,
That's where you start? Four
fucking,
noses?
that's fucking nothing. Wait till I get going.
Oh my god. Who starts at 4 noses?
4 noses, whole human bones and fragments, 9 masks of human skin. So there are there's 9 faces fucking stapled to the wall. Bowls made from human skulls.
Oh, Jesus.
10 female heads with the top sawed off.
What?
Human skin as seat covers.
Ew.
A woman, Mary Hogan's head in a paper bag.
Why?
Bernice Warden's head was in a burlap sack. 9 vulvas in a shoebox.
What?
9 vulvas. If you don't know what a vulva is, it's a vagina. There were 9.
9.
Why would I know why he put 9 vulvas in a shoebox? 9. Skulls on his bedpost, and they have a picture of the bed, and each bedpost has a full skull on it.
Oh, God.
Organs in the refrigerator. Very Jeffrey Dahmerish. This is my favorite. I don't mean to laugh because it's so fucking gross. A pair of lips were used as the drawstring on the shade.
Oh, my God.
Could you imagine being the cops?
No.
A belt made from human nipples.
No.
Mm-hmm. A nipple belt.
No.
You can Google if you're as sick as I am. You can Google the nipple belt. It's there.
No.
A lampshade made from the skin of a human face.
Oh.
And that was the gist of it. Yeah, that's my favorite list ever.
That is
disgusting. It was disgusting, and they show you the chairs. Like you can Google the pictures of Ed Gein's
who
house.
does this? Don't do that.
I did it.
Don't do that.
I did it. I
Don't
saw the chairs.
do it.
I didn't see the human faces, but you could see the bowls, the skull bowls, the skulls on the bedpost. You can see the nipple belt. I didn't see the vulvas in the box or the noses. All right, so they start questioning Henry.
You think?
Oh, Ed Gein, like, Ed, what the fuck, dude? So he says, well, from 1947, just after Mother died, to 1952, he'd made about 40 night visits to the local graveyard where he'd dig up the bodies.
What?
He was like in a daze, and he'd go to the graveyard and he'd dig up the bodies. Also on this list should be he had a skin suit. So he had sewn like a vest with boobies on it. Because it's Halloween is why I'm saying boobies. Boobies. So yes, he has a skin suit. I forgot to add that to the list. So he'd go in this daze, and he would wake up in the graveyard in the daze. So about 30 of these visits, nothing. Other the visits, he's bringing the bodies home. So he went after deceased women that reminded him of his mother.
Oh my God.
He was trying to get back to his mother.
No.
He used their skins for different paraphernalia. He admitted to robbing 9 graves in one night. And they're like, there's no fucking way you robbed 9 graves in one night. And then they go and look. And all the graves he said were empty were fucking empty because these people are now displayed in his house. Shortly after his mom's death, he wants to have a sex change. He wants to now become a woman, and he starts to make a woman's suit. Like I said, so you can see the skin suit if you really want.
No,
to.
do not do that. Do not do that.
You can Google it.
Don't Google it.
He denies having sex with the bodies because quote they smelled too bad. Yeah, no fucking shocker, dude. He did admit.
At least says that.
Well, the Mary Hogan, whose head was found in a paper sack, not to be confused with Bernice in the burlap sack. He shot her in 1954. He did admit shooting her, and I believe both of these women strongly resembled his mother. Mm-hmm. So during a confession, fucking Art Shiley, I can't even say the county sheriff, slams Ed Gein's face into the wall. Fucking loses it. Slams his face into the wall.
Because he's sick.
Well, Ed is sick.
Yeah.
But he literally is sick in the head. You know, his mother fucked him up beyond belief.
Yes.
So this confession is now inadmissible because you beat the shit out of him. He clearly confesses again. So on November 20th, 1957, he's arraigned and he enters a plea of not guilty for reason of insanity. He is found unfit to stand trial and he is sent to Central State Hospital for the criminally insane, and then he's transferred to Mendota State Hospital. 1968, the doctors determine he is completely competent to stand trial. So on November 14th, 1968, he stands trial for first-degree murder, and he's found guilty by a judge, and he's basically sent back to the psych facility for the rest of his life. Okay. March 20th, 1958, Ed Gein's house burns to the ground. Shocker. Good. When they tell him, dude, somebody burnt your house to the ground, he's like, well, bound to happen. 1958, the car he used to ship the bodies back and forth is sold at auction for $750, which today would be about $5,000. And it's used at carnivals where he was charged 25 cents a get to go look at the car that he shipped.
Oh, God.
Yep.
You would do that.
I would. They had Bonnie and Clyde's car on display too, full of bullet holes. They would put, and if you're talking like the 50s and shit, they bought weird shit for carnivals.
I could see Bonnie and Clyde, but no, not Ed Gein.
Ed Gein's Deathmobile? Come on.
No,
Somebody
that's
would pay for that
disgusting.
shit all day long. Clearly they did.
I know.
July 26th, 1984, he dies. And he's buried in Plainville Cemetery. His grave is frequently vandalized. People are chipping off parts of the stone to have a memorabilia of Ed Gein. It's really fucking weird.
It is.
In 2000, the whole gravestone is completely stolen.
Oh my God.
Poor Ed. I do feel bad for Ed. I mean, he only killed 2 women.
Only?
But they were probably overbearing battle axes like his mother.
Well, it doesn't mean you killed them.
Well, I don't think you should dress him like a deer in your shed. But
No.
so in 2001, they recovered his tombstone, and he is the tombstone is now in a museum. Ed Gein's story has influenced Norman Bates in Psycho, Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and most notably, Buffalo Bill, Silence of the Lambs, making his skin suit. In 2010, there was a musical, Ed Gein, the musical.
Oh my God.
How you fucking make that into a musical? It's pretty goddamn creative, I'll tell you.
That's
what.
disgusting.
I'm dressing her up like a deer
That's
out
disgusting.
in my shed. Like, yeah, so if you get into Murderpedia or any other thing, there is more into this story. That's a very obviously basic overview of the story because they get into why he did what he did, his sexual appetite about it, and blah, 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 blah. When you see pictures of Ed Gein, he's just some poor tiny little old man doing this weird shit. Somebody had a story where like kids, again, why would you do this shit? They would take kids trick-or-treating at the psych facility. Where Ed
What?
Gein, yep, where Ed Gein was at. You know,
Why would you take your kids
I
to
don't know.
It's not even just like it's a psych hospital. It's for the criminally insane.
People did weird shit back in the day. And one of them was like, you know, they asked Ed what he thought, and he's like, yeah, keep him away from me. I don't like Halloween or something weird. It was some story I'd heard, and I was like, oh, Ed. So Ed Gein is one of like the first stories of American history that people heard of fucked up shit. You know, because following Ed Gein comes Ed Kemper and Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy and all those other Jeff Dahmer, all those other crazy psychopaths. So I just thought that was a little flavor for the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Dancing in the moonlight in the graveyards in your skin suit.
Digging up bodies and skinning them.
Saving the vulvas for later.
That is why. Why? What are you doing with the vulva?
Why are you using the lips as a shade pole? I mean, there's got to be a better thing you could have done with the lips. Like a bottle opener.
Out, though. Like, I can't even fathom.
I don't know. They were tied up there. Bare lips. Like I said, just imagine. I mean, this is 1958. This shit is unheard of. Imagine being those cops going in and being like,
that's awful.
Oh, there's lips in the window.
Yeah, because you must be like looking for things and then being like, oh no, I have to look everywhere.
Yeah. Oh,
because
no,
there's lips on the pole for the window.
There's a box full of vaginas.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we have one email that had come in that I'm going to read. Hello from Wichita, Kansas.
Nice.
Home of BTK. I'm so glad I found your podcast. I am a newcomer, so I have started from the beginning and am working my way up. It's the only way to listen to this podcast.
Good luck.
You can listen however you want, but I prefer from the beginning to end. I love it. I love your content. It's so relatable and, quote, laugh out loud funny.
Oh.
I know. I think I'm laugh out loud.
Oh, God.
I have been a scrub tech for 10 years now, and I am almost done with nursing school. Good for you. I'm glad you went back. December 2022, baby! Exclamation point. That's right around the corner when you get this episode out. Yeah, you are almost done, love. I can't imagine working anywhere else. I absolutely love the OR. That being said, would you advise venturing out to other departments? ? During my clinicals, I have felt so out of my element. I have no desire to work on the floor, and although I can picture myself working in the ICU, I don't think I can handle working nights. I don't know. I work in the OR. I worked a lot of nights.
I know. I think if you work in like a small place, that's
they're
just
on
call.
My ultimate goal is to get my APRN, which is Advanced Practice to RN, and work for a surgeon in the OR. I just don't know if that would make a difference or make me a more competitive candidate for that line of work. Thanks for all you do and for bringing a much-needed laugh to my drive home after a long day of work and school. And thank you for bringing a spotlight to OR nursing/scrubbing. It is always forgotten, and there isn't enough recognition for the important work we do and stresses that we deal with on a daily basis. Hashtag full bladder, hashtag empty stomach.
Amen.
Sincerely, Eden. Oh, Eden, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I did
a
a year. I was a scrub. We were both scrub techs, and we both went to nursing school. I did like a year and a half on the floor, and I did like PD and med surge.
The only reason I went to nursing school was to come back to the OR, so I have never left the OR.
I knew I wanted to be in the OR,
Right.
but I kind of, it was like one of those things like you feel like you have to do it.
Well, my nursing instructor was like, you have to do it. But if I'm coming back to the OR,
Right.
why?
Why?
I'm not using any of those skills.
No, it doesn't. I don't think it doesn't help. It
No.
doesn't help you if you're going to be an OR nurse. But if you are ever going to do something else, it will help you.
Right.
You
And
know.
I don't know how old you are. I'm going to assume you're somewhere in your 30s, early 30s maybe. Only because you've already been a tech for 10
Mhm.
years. So I highly suggest if you aren't married, you don't have kids, and you have the freedom to try something different, I would try something different. And then you're going to know if you definitely want to go back to the OR, or you can always leave. I mean,
Right, you don't have to stay in that job just because
Right.
you take a job. You can always go back to the OR. So I don't think it hurts to try it, but I don't think it helps you as an OR nurse.
right. So if you're going because you think you're going to be a better OR nurse, that would be the reason. But
No.
if you want to just see if you might like something other than the OR, I would definitely try it.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to try it.
Right.
You can
I mean,
always get a job.
I had a friend who was a scrub tech for almost 11 years, and she left, and she went to the floor for 17 years.
Yeah.
And now she's coming to the PACU. I mean, she's a little closer to home, but she's starting in the PACU. And so I thought she'd be back in no time, and she loved being on the floors for a while.
Yeah.
So I mean, I sometimes regret that I didn't try something different, but by the time I had finished nursing school, I had just got married. I was pregnant when I took the boards,
Mhm.
and I wasn't going anywhere. I knew floor nursing wasn't for me. I just knew it wasn't. So I would suggest trying something else if you want. As far as APRN,
I don't know.
we don't use them where we
We work
where
in a
we
teaching
work,
hospital. We don't use them.
and I don't know what it looks like in smaller hospitals. I haven't been one in 25 years.
Yeah.
I would get to the OR first. If you decide to go back to the OR, get to the OR first and decide from there. I mean, just start getting your practice as a nurse before you start looking to do another
Well,
step.
I think that's just that's my personal opinion across the board is before you go and do these advanced practice things, like work as a nurse,
agree.
get
your
experience
experience.
as a nurse under your belt. I don't understand how you could be an advanced practicing nurse if you weren't a nurse to begin with.
I'm
That's
going to get a lot of flack for my next comment. I know I am, but I am not a big advocate or a fan of these programs where you have your bachelor's in fucking music and you're a nurse practitioner in a year and a half.
Mhm.
Because I feel like you haven't the experience to be a nurse practitioner yet. You barely touched a patient, and now you're prescribing and assessing, and you don't really have the skills yet.
Yeah.
So I've never been a big advocate of jumping steps. I do believe experience counts for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
That might be because I'm an older nurse and I have an older version of things. I don't need a million emails telling me, well, I did the 2-year program and I'm fine. I get it. And there are people out there working at it doing it. I just think that the women who have worked on the floors first or worked in the OR 1st and then got their advanced degree in whatever, they just have better skills.
They just have more skills because they've done it.
Right. I mean, I think it's hard to diagnose when you've never had to do it and now you're doing it.
Mhm.
So with no practice. So I don't know. I have very strong feelings about that. So the last thing I want to talk about, and by the time this comes out, there'll probably be more information, but we had that thing on the news, the 2 nurses shot in Texas.
Yeah.
All I know is he somehow got on the labor delivery floor.
Which is, I mean, where we work,
Impossible
it's impossible
So
to get
I
on
was
there.
saying to Brian today, I'm like, I don't know how he got into labor and delivery because nobody in our hospital can get on that floor unless they work on that floor.
Yeah,
We go
can't.
up for emergencies and we have to get
stand
buzzed
there.
in.
They have to look at us. They have to check our things. We have to get in there.
So I don't know how he got on that floor because, they worry about baby theft. That's a
Right.
big thing. And my heart goes out to the families. My heart goes out to those women.
Mhm.
I mean, they probably were just trying to protect their patients somehow. I
Mhm.
don't know what he was doing up there yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so when we get more information, it's definitely another subject we're going to talk about. And I'm hoping there's no copycat with this, that you're going to see other people going in hospitals trying to blow away nurses.
Yeah.
But it's just a little sad day today thinking of that. I felt bad when I heard that on the news today. So I just wanted to just kind of acknowledge that, yes, we did hear about it and we're not blind to what's going on up there.
Yeah.
So.
And we got an email from Josh.
Oh, yes.
And thank you for the email, Josh, and thank you for listening. But we don't think we can talk about that on the air because it was like a little too personal. Like a little too many details or something. But we hear what you're saying. And if you ever have any question he's a nurse, I think he's a nursing student. If you ever have any concerns about a patient mentally or whatever, you think like, I wonder if this is going on, say it to your instructor, say it to the nurse you're under. Yeah. And if you feel like it's being ignored, you can bring it up higher in the hospital. But we can't diagnose anybody. B, I don't know. But what you're saying sounds...
Josh had sent us an email referring to somebody he suspected of Munchausen's. He had listened to our Munchausen's episode, and he thought maybe somebody he was dealing with had it. Munchausen's goes undetected because many people are afraid to report it because you don't want to be wrong. But if you have concerns about it, absolutely bring it up to your clinical instructor. Bring it up to whoever you feel you can bring it up to. They can investigate it. At least you said something. But it's not really your place as a student to confront anybody about it. Not that you're going to. No, but
definitely bring it to someone's attention.
Right, like don't bring it to the patient's attention. Right.
But you just say to your nurse, hey, listen, this is what's going on and X, Y, and Z. Like, what are your thoughts? You know, and,
right. This is what I see. What do you think?
Or the nurse you're under. You know, you always have somebody you're under on the floor and, hey, it's weird, don't you think? Like X, Y, and Z and see what they say. Maybe they've already looked into it and you just don't know or whatever. But I would bring it up. I wouldn't ignore it. Right. But
so we loved your email, but it's definitely the subject matter was a little sensitive and a little too personal that we felt like we'd put ourselves in a little bit of jeopardy if we read that out loud. So good luck with dealing with that.
Yeah, but anytime you have any weird feeling,
say it.
Say it. It doesn't. You're not accusing somebody of anything. You're just saying like, hey, I have a concern, and any concern you have about a patient
is a valid concern.
Yeah. Should be brought up, and you could be like, "Oh, hey, yeah, we know what you're saying," but and then you might go, "Oh, yeah, no, that's true." Like, no, it isn't.
They may look at it in a different light and see something you're not seeing.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's that episode. Hopefully, it got recorded and made it to tape.
Please God.
So happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
We're gonna sit down now and figure out what's coming down in November towards you.
Oh boy.
Exactly. November's always a struggle.
It is.
We'll take suggestions.
Yeah, right.
Email us if you get some good November episode suggestions, but you got to do it like really soon. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye. Yep. Like, subscribe, rate, and review the Scissors and Scrubs podcast on whatever podcast app you listen to us on. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Scissors and Scrubs, and email us any of your stories or thoughts to scissorsnscrubs@gmail.com.